I'd like to welcome everybody tonight. We got a few things that we need to do, but as always, we open up the meeting with Inspector Neubauer and crew from the 7th Precinct. Give us an update, the latest, and then we can give you an update on a couple of issues that the residents may have.
Probably have the same thing.
Sure.
Since I was last here in October, the good news and bad news with respect to the crime situation here in Mastic Beach. The good news is there's been no violent crime whatsoever. What do I mean by violent crime? Assaults, robberies, shootings, nothing of that nature. The bad news is we've had a tremendous uptick in burglaries and property crime. Typically, over the last 6 months to a year, burglary-wise, we've averaged about 2 a week, thereabouts. Since we last met in October, we've had 17 in Mastic Beach. That's an average of 4 a week. Most of those 17 came in the last 2 weeks. 13 out of the 17 in a 2-week period. We had 3 or 4 last Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Of those 17 burglaries, 11 of them were copper/metal related. That is breaking into houses that were under construction or houses that were abandoned, unoccupied. As you know, and I said this in past meetings, there's a market for copper. When last I checked, which is about 2 months ago, clean copper was worth about $1.15 a pound. Clean meaning there wasn't any plastic coating or, it wasn't copper wire, it was clean copper that you would have for a plumbing run. It makes it an inviting target. I know we've had a cluster down in the Osprey Point area. We've had 5 there in Osprey Point. In fact, I believe the same location got hit twice in the last week and a half or 2. We have a couple of suspects. We've been fortunate enough to recover some forensic evidence that may lead us down the right road here, but as of yet, we haven't made any arrests. I was talking to one of the detectives who has several of these cases just a couple of hours ago. He spent most of his day on Saturday down in Osprey Point going over several of those houses that had been hit. So we have a couple of people on the radar screen. We have some leads to follow. So that's the good news. But as I said, we're not close yet to making an arrest. So that's where we stand with that. I'd like to think that we're going to bring a couple of these in. Yes?
Okay, this last Saturday, I noticed, well, actually, it was a few days before that, there's 3 houses behind me that are empty. All right?
Which is where? Where behind?
They're on Laurelton, down by the end by the water.
Okay.
I noticed some kids trying to break into the back of the house. I chased them away. They actually came around the block and taunted me in front of my own house. They were so brazen. Saturday I woke up, looked out the window.
After you chased the kids away, what happened next?
The kids, they left. They came by my house and taunted me, and I followed them down the block. They went back to their house they live on Laurelton somewhere, down the block. Saturday I wake up to see the back door is wide open on the house. Now I knew the door was locked because the kids didn't get in it 2 days before that. Now the door is wide open. I call the police. 2.5 hours later they show up. They look at the house, they walk in the houses. There's 2 houses behind me, they broke into both of them. They walked through the houses, they said, yeah, they broke the door frames, and they left. Right? They told me the kids are having a field day in these houses. So then they left. Monday, the door is still wide open on the house. I see code enforcement going by. I stopped them. I said, these two houses are wide open behind me. And they said, no, they're not occupied, they're empty.
Okay.
One house has already been gutted. The other house is going to be gutted soon. And today I passed by the house, you can see right in the front window of the house, you can see the back door wide open. No, the house hasn't been secured. I mean, they broke into the house on Saturday.
What was the
Here's-
number on Laurelton again?
I'm not sure of the number, but it's a big high ranch. You can't miss it. It stands out by itself. It's raised up. I mean, I made a call on Saturday.
We'll see
The
if we
police
can
were
find
there.
who the representative is. That's the first step in.
But I think the first
situation
thing,
like
the first
this.
thing, the house should be secured.
Right, and that's, we have to find out who's
But now
responsible
there's
for
been
that.
people in and out of the house since. You know what I mean? And the house is wide open. It only takes a few hours to gut a house.
When did you, when
All right.
did you notice code enforcement did?
Code enforcement, Monday.
Monday?
Monday, they passed by my house and I stopped them.
Monday in the daytime?
Yes.
Okay.
And I stopped them and told them to go take a look and check it out. They told me that the police is supposed to notify you and you guys are supposed to notify somebody to close the house up. That's what the police told me. No, that's what code enforcement told me. But so far, the house is still wide open.
All right, I'll take care of that. I just asked you when you went home tonight, you just write by the address, give me a call, let me know what it is.
Okay.
You know, tomorrow we'll look into it, it's first I'm hearing of it, so tomorrow we'll either notify an owner if...
Well, there's 4 houses in a row that are empty. You can't miss it. It's the last block on Laurelton. Right by the
You just
water.
give me, like I said, the addresses, or better yet, after the meeting, just give me your address and I'll go there tomorrow and I'll go behind it.
Right.
I'm sure it's not gonna be a problem finding 4 vacant houses, but just wanna
Right.
make sure I got the right 4.
No, you can't miss them. You just walk by, you can see right through the houses.
Okay.
So, that's,
You wanna get a hold of?
Yeah, once I get it, I'll pass it on to you guys.
Yeah, all right, okay. Michael, you and, Jimmy Roscoe's in.
Okay.
Yes.
Just update on the Osprey Point side, it's actually 11 houses now since last week that were burglarized. 6 that have homeowners, the rest that are bank owned, we haven't been able to locate the homeowners of, but there are 11 with the exact
Well,
same.
there's a couple that may have been entered, but we have no homeowner information as yet. That's something that we're still working on.
Yeah, so
That's part of it. I know
Yeah,
there was...
6 with homeowners.
There was another one on Saturday that, that someone may have gotten into, but we have that case also.
Yeah, the village is going to look for homeowners or banks to try to get a complainant. 6 have complainants, the other
Yeah.
5 didn't, and 3 of those were entered at multiple times, not just the one on Wave Crest. 2 on Shore were also hit
I know,
3
yeah.
times the same
Yeah, we've
house.
had a couple on shore, I know.
That were multiples. So it just really, our only concern from that area is how far is it gonna, like, we've had things damaged in the park twice, where we had the suspects on video, we were told by the police department, don't put it out to the public yet, don't make a big deal, we're gonna work on it. For a week, we get calls back from detectives past that. I'm 4 thumb drives down of video footage I've never even heard back from anybody again. You know, once it becomes a little bit where it's not in our eyesight, they stop calling us back, they stop responding, and they
Are
say,
you referring to the video from like a few months ago?
yeah, and the one a few months before that too.
Yeah.
Every time the kids destroy
I know, I looked at
everything.
the video myself, and yes, it's video, but as far as identifying somebody, not good, and, you know, it's not of sufficient clarity and quality that we can say, yeah, that person is so-and-so. It's not good enough for identification purposes, so, yeah,
Yeah, so I mean,
video
that's
is good, but, you know, it's not a slam dunk, not sufficient for probable cause to make an arrest.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, they could follow up and close the loop, because for a
Well, we
week
have-
we're working on it, and then we don't hear back.
There's some video that the detectives have with regard to the last few incidents that is, we like it better than it is, I'm just gonna say that much.
We also have more that they haven't collected quite yet.
Well, I'll tell you what, if there's more, we'd certainly like to have it,
Yeah, no, I called them and told them,
I'll
they
give
just
you
haven't
the
been
name
around
of the
to,
detective and,
yeah.
or if you want to give the sergeant your name, phone number, place we can contact you, we'd certainly like to get more, but what we've looked at so far is okay, but, you know, it doesn't quite fit the bill of what we would like as far as for identification purposes. No, that's all I'm going to say. Okay?
Bill?
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
I have a suggestion, not a question. Unfortunately, because so many houses are empty, being renovated, having a van in somebody's driveway does not even look unusual. There's no reason to question it. I would suggest if there's no building permit in the window, call 911. Just assume the worst. And if it's a contractor, they'll be able to be identified by the owner. But
that's a good point. It's a good point, something I didn't think of, but.
Also, just to add to that, while this was all going on Saturday night, I believe, and I was on my deathbed, I did answer the phone. Evan had called me. It was pretty close to 12 o'clock at night, and I need to know what's going on, because then what happens is I get right on the phone with the 7th precinct, and the duty sergeant, whoever answered the phone, said, you know, we already know about it, we're working on it, and we're going to send somebody down here, which I don't know if they ever did or not, but I need to know as soon as something happens. I think in my conversation with Evans is, people saw a vehicle in the driveway, and he thought somebody was moving in. Well, unfortunately, somebody was actually moving the stuff out. So if you see something, say something, and then let the police department go down there, and if the guy is moving in, great, no problem. But if the guy is actually cleaning out the houses, at least the police department knows about it.
That's part of the problem, is that the people doing this, they're driving vans or pickup trucks. They're dressed as if they're in the construction trade, and it's, you don't think twice about a pickup truck pulled in a driveway and a bunch of stuff in the bed. But, if you can make a 911 call, we'd certainly like to check that out. And that's, once in a while we get lucky. We had one a few months ago up in Ridge, and an alert homeowner made a phone call, and we were able to make a collar on 2 people for doing a copper job. But it's tough. It can be tough. But there's a few other hands here I saw. Yes?
Yes, you said in the beginning that there were no knife attacks or shots.
Yeah, exactly.
October 14th, a man was stabbed on Cranberry. Another man was told an unknown person held him up at knife point and robbed him on Neighborhood Road on October 19th.
Both of those victims declined to cooperate with the police.
But you can't say that there was no,
Well, that's what they're saying happened, okay? That's what they're saying happened, but if we have an uncooperative victim, and I know the one in particular.
Well, this man called police at 7:30.
This person claimed that he was robbed of $7 and 1 or 2 other items. But we have an uncooperative victim, and usually, based on our experience, there's a reason why people change their mind in these instances. So,
I understand, but how can you say these things didn't happen?
if we have an uncooperative victim, how do we know, in fact, that he's telling the truth? Because if you're saying, if somebody says, well, I was at such and such a location, and a person described thusly, height, weight, hair color, race, whatever, did this and this to me, and then drove away in such and such a car or whatever. So we get a whole description, and then we look into it. First of all, one of the first things we do is, you all know, there's a lot of video out there. So we go to that location. We see, is there video? Yeah, there's video. We look at the time frame. Can we corroborate what he's saying? Does he have an injury? Is he going to the hospital for treatment?
He went to the hospital.
So there's a lot there. I mean, frankly, this could have been a fight with a friend that escalated to the point where, blows were thrown. But to say that it's a robbery, we're not going to call it a robbery unless we can,
The man was stabbed. I'm not talking about what was stolen.
Yeah, and you know
He was
what?
stabbed. I mean,
Do you know how
something happened.
people stab themselves too? you know,
And what about the incident at Baby Park?
which incident at Baby Park?
2 local people arrested during a disturbance outside Baby Park on October 30th, Suffolk police say. Jonathan Grigg, 24, of Mastic Beach, and Danny Pastor, 18, also of Mastic Beach.
Okay, would you like to know what that was?
Yeah.
That wasn't a robbery.
No, apparently
That
it was
wasn't an
apparently a
assault, that
fight.
wasn't an arson, no, it wasn't. Officers on patrol noticed 3 or 4 people hanging out at Bayview Park, several of whom were drinking beer, which, as you know, you can't consume alcoholic beverages in public.
Right.
So, one of the fellows who was there was an intelligent guy, and that, realizing he did wrong, he accepted the summons that the officer gave him for drinking in public. 2 of the other people, including the lady, shall we say, took umbrage over the fact that the officers
She refused.
were interfering with their party in a public place. So that escalated into an arrests for disorderly conduct.
Right, and then she picked
So-
up in the precinct.
So, you know, instead of just accepting a simple ticket and going to court here and paying a fine, they wind up getting arrested for being stupid. But, you know,
They
that's
deserve it.
not a violent crime, again.
No, but it's just, you know,
Okay. Okay.
I mean, the section.
People do
was
stupid things.
Information obtained from the Suffolk County Police Department.
Right, but as I said, that's not a violent offense that was committed in Massac Beach. Okay? Any other questions? Yes?
Yeah, I find it disturbing of all these robberies, but what I find more disturbing is that when the police were called, they told them, well, the kids are having a field day. There's no other town or village that you could say that and it would be okay.
Yeah, well,
Why
it's
is that
not
okay to
And
say
you know
that
what?
to
I'll
us?
tell you.
We get a lot of that. You live in a bad neighborhood, maybe you should move.
You know, and sometimes, let's face it, sometimes we say the wrong things, and sometimes it's wrong to make a comment as you just, and I'm not criticizing, but clearly that's taken out of context. So maybe those words were uttered, but I'd like to know what was said before and what was said after, before we make a determination that the officer really did something wrong. The thing is, too, what the gentleman brought out before, that, you know, you saw the kids going in and you confronted them and then, you know, they hassled you later. That should have been a 911 call right
And it
there.
takes hours for you
You
to get
know?
down here.
You know?
It takes hours for you to get
Well,
down
I have the kids
But
on
you know
video.
what? You got it
told me
recorded.
about the incident, with
But,
the
and
accident.
the
in front of
gentleman
house.
knew where, at least where one of the kids lived. So,
Well, I have the kids on video. I have video cameras on my property.
right, and I know Captain Fisher
Took
got
him 2
back.
weeks to get back to me.
But
Two
what are you
weeks
doing
to
at
get
back to
15 years
you?
old?
Yeah, and they're still looking into it, he'll get back to me again. That was about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Any other questions or comments?
Well, I do have those kids on video standing in front of my house taunting me,
Okay.
all right? But there's not much you're gonna do with them when they're 15-year-old kids.
How do you know they're 15?
That's what they look like. I mean, they were young kids.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I mean? What they weren't 18. There's no way they were 18.
Okay.
The older kids.
I mean, what, you
The
know.
older kids.
Okay. Anybody else?
Okay, no other comments, Inspector Newbow, Sergeant Lutz, thank you again for your time, and
All right.
we'll keep plugging away. And again, based on my experience, and I'll give you a perfect example, over a year ago, our code enforcement guys come across a guy with a box van siphoning oil out of vacant houses. Now, if you watch the video from the neighbors that had actual videos, the guy was very unique. There's a lot of shifty people out there. He'd pull up, he'd take his weed whacker out, he'd get a plastic bag, and he'd break the people's properties at the same time he's raking the oil out of the thing. And people think that, hey, you know, it's the cleaning service or the guy doing yard work or whatnot. Call up, let PD handle it. You know, don't assume that it's either somebody moving in or it's a vendor or whatnot, because again, there's a lot of shady people out there and doing anything they can to get a call.
I got a couple.
A little fish, but it's that up.
Just to follow up, I mean, you mentioned Bayview Park. Well, the reason we're there checking it is because last month, last month's meeting, that was one of the issues that came up, that we made a patrol check. That's why we were there. Bayview Park is now a patrol check, that's why the officers were there checking it out. That came over in last month. There's a bunch of other locations, we had one on Hemlock here, Whittier Drive in neighborhood, which has come up before, that's back in the system. I mean, basically what it means is a patrol check, I put it in the computer, the sector cars down here have to make checks. So at the very least, they're driving past,
How many
showing,
sector costs do you have down here?
well, 715 is down here, you have 740, but whoever's down here, they're looking at these checks in addition to Cole. So, I mean, that's the reason we were there at Bayview Park, with, you
No,
know.
I didn't
you
even know about Baby Park till I read it.
Adults
in
hanging out,
advance,
shooting
and I
up
knew
was
about
the
it.
exact complaint last month, so, I mean, that's part of the reason we were there. I mean, if you have a location you want us to look into, let me know. I put it in the system. I mean, that's a perfect example. It was mentioned last month, and we made arrests there. So, I mean, there's a couple other things we've been working on. Back in June, one of the co-op officers developed information on a drug location in Mastic Beach, over on Wilson. Well, it took a few months for us, for what we made about 10 arrests of people coming out of there in possession of drugs. And,
Oh, I'm not saying you guys
and,
don't do a good job.
okay, I'm
but-
just saying, we did a
It's just
search warrant on
annoying.
Thursday the 8th. We did a search warrant with emergency service, the gang unit, co-op officers. And, sometimes it takes a little time. I mean, the original information was June. We just did a search warrant last week.
What I'm talking about in this man with the house, that the same thing, it takes you forever to get here. 2.5 hours.
I mean,
another
calls are
neighbor,
prioritized.
it's 2.5
That
hours.
wasn't a priority, and that's the same.
A property crime is gonna,
My other friend who called, it was at 12 o'clock at night, there was a gang on the house across the street from her, like David. She called the operator, well, how many kids do they have weapons? Was she gonna go outside and check? And it took them 2 hours to get down there.
That's a logical question for the 911 operator to ask,
Yeah, like she said, it's 12 o'clock, I'm not going out there to check.
Maybe she could.
Yeah, they're fighting, they've got some kind of weapons. And it took 2 hours for them to get there.
Yes.
I don't think anybody's blaming the police, all right? It's frustrating, all right? I know, you're frustrated. I'm saying.
You want to catch the guys doing these burglaries.
What I'm saying is maybe if the officers went to customer service training and a little more concerned, even if they fake it. Not say, but what we get is, I mean, I swear, I'm there when they do it. I mean, well, what do you want me to do? This is the cop asking me, I'm not a cop. And then, oh, he's 14. Is he gonna, what am I gonna do with a 14-year-old? He's not, you're a cop, you're not the judge. It's,
Sometimes there's a better way of expressing your opinion.
if the expression was more
Yeah, I
fake
know.
concern, I mean, I don't care if you're laughing, it's okay.
I see it all the time. I know. And that is the old adage that our biggest enemy is our mouths, because we don't, how you approach people, how you respond to their concerns. And, there's, you can say, oh, the cop may think, well, there's not a damn thing I can do about this. But there's a way of saying that to the person without saying that there's not a damn thing I can do about this. I'm sorry, sir, under the circumstances, our hands are a little tied with this. And
I'll
we're
look
gonna
into it.
follow you.
I'll look into it.
Yeah, you're right, you're absolutely right.
2 weeks,
I don't
and then
deny
another 3
it.
weeks.
I don't deny it. Our guys screw up a lot with that. And that's
Well,
something
Captain
we gotta
Fisher
do.
told me, he said, we looked into it and it is our fault and I'm going to look into it further. So he did admit that.
Yeah, there was a
on
gap, I
duty
saw the
that
gap. I saw the gap, and that's,
But he still has, and, he's going to look into it further and let us know, and he still
it's
has.
not,
I know it's not a priority. I mean, nobody was hurt, but the car was blocking my driveway. The kid was told he couldn't move the car, the tow truck was sitting there.
I know the story,
Yeah,
please, I know the story. I know.
I think we can just three more quick questions.
Yeah, sure. Gentleman in the front.
If in the process of able to watch people driving around, and they should happen to come across this individual with a blue truck.
Who's about 6 feet, famous Bob.
And we apprehend them.
Apprehended for what?
Hold them for
For what?
So you guys get there in 2 hours.
What do you see him doing that you're going to apprehend him for?
We see him taking stuff out of the house. He still has to go finish 2 houses. 2 houses aren't done.
You call 911, you tell the emergency operator there's a burglary in progress at such and such an address. The individual is removing items from the house, he's putting them into a blue, whatever color truck, blue pickup truck. I'm part of the neighborhood watch, you know, that's what you do. That's what you